This past weekend in Pennsylvania, Elon Musk held an event for Donald Trump at a church. And yes, that is important to the story. Held an event at a church where he once again joked about Vice President Kamala Harris being assassinated. In a church. But don't worry, folks. Elon Musk wasn't saying that he wanted it to happen, of course. He was just saying, one, reiterating his point that it's weird nobody's tried, but he doesn't want it to happen, and he thinks that even if it did happen, it would be totally pointless, to which he laughed and laughed, and the crowd laughed, and everybody had a great ton of fun there. Here is how the exchange went down. Elon Musk was asked a question from a person in the crowd named Giselle, who said, "Hi everyone, my name is Giselle, and thank you for saving free speech." She says to the man who banned a reporter from Twitter because he didn't like the reporter, he'd made fun of him a lot, and he posted the information from the hacked Trump campaign materials. That reporter, of course, was Ken Klippenstein, and I'm sure he would have something very different to say about Elon Musk saving free speech. But anyway, she continues. "My question is, what would you expect to see when you head the government efficiency department? What are your strategies and priorities to curb government spending?" And Elon responds thusly. And here's the thing. I'm going to read his quotes word for word. If it sounds like I'm stuttering and stammering, I want you to understand that's not because I'm struggling to read it. It's because this man can't speak. And he has the vocabulary of a fourth grader. So here is Elon Musk's response. "Well, I've had some exposure to government spending because, SpaceX has that, does have a lot of government contracts, does a lot of work for NASA and for DoD Intel and whatnot. And so I've actually seen just the level of waste that happens." Okay, hold up. Before I continue, you're like, "Hey, I get government contracts all the time, so I see the waste." Hello, paging U.S. government audits? Could you please go look at SpaceX? Because the guy you're sending contracts to says there is a lot of waste. And I would love to know what he is wasting money on. Because here's the fun part. Elon Musk doesn't get to look at he doesn't get to look at the books of the federal government. So if he says he sees a lot of waste as somebody who gets contracts, that could be a very costly admission there, dumbass. Anyway, this moron continues. "And if you talk to people in the government, they actually agree, yes, this is very wasteful and inefficient." And I'm like, well, why don't we do something about it? But really, in order to do something about it, it has to be a mandate from the top. And if the president is, if we have a great president like Donald Trump, who is willing to make major changes and difficult because the system will fight you, the system is not going to be like, yeah, no, totally, we're totally happy being smaller. That will not be that, the sort of antibody reaction of the system will be quite severe. I don't think it's going to be, they're not going to, like it basically. So, but you have to have that mandate from the president, and we need a real president, not a puppet, Whew. Again, vocabulary of a fourth grader. And the crowd cheers at that, and he continues, he says, the thing that scares the system, that scares the machine, is that Donald Trump is not a puppet. He's a real person, and he's not beholden to anyone. And that's why you see sort of, that they're trying to kill him, as I mentioned as a joke, I meant it as a joke that no one's even bothering to try to kill Kamala. Crowd laughs. Because there's no point. There's no point. It's just get another puppet, So I'm not suggesting someone should try to kill her. It's pointless. But I'm just making an observation. Nobody's bothered. Why is that? Because it doesn't matter. And then he laughs at his own joke. Yeah, assassinating a puppet is pointless. So yeah. Again, inside a church. First of all, this man has the mentality of an elementary schooler, which I think is why his vocabulary is so bad. Genuinely cannot speak in front of people. I don't know. Let's get an analyst to look at this man's brain because something ain't right. But just get another puppet, right? Nobody's bothered. You do realize people have been arrested for threatening it, right? Same thing with President Biden. There's actually people in jail for threatening to kill President Biden. So how dare you sit there and lie about these things? They may not have put their plans into action, but upon further investigation, these threats were deemed to be credible, and people were arrested and locked up for them. One of them was actually recently sentenced. So you're just flat out lying to these people in between your, no. How can anyone look at this man and think that he is a genius? How can anyone look at this idiot and think that he is the tech savior? I think, just out of pure friggin' spite, if Donald Trump does not win the election, Kamala Harris does, pull every contract from every company Elon Musk has. Take away the government subsidies, take away all his little toys and goodies. Be done with him, because he's a piece of garbage. Thanks for watching, everybody, and if you're not already, please subscribe to the channel. We got fresh content every day for you. And if you want to follow us across social media, make sure you check out all of the social links that we have posted in the description of this video.